What's going on, guys? Jody and Bryson here from Strong Minded Coaching, back with another video. Today I wanted to address something that's been bothering me a lot lately, something I've been hearing a lot, and that is that men are weaker nowadays than they have ever been before in the past. Now, this is something, that affects me obviously as a man, but something that affects many other men as well. I'm a men's life coach. I have a men's Facebook community, which I'll leave in the description box below if you want to go check that out. So every single day I'm having conversations with men, and this seems to be cropping up all the time, is this weakness that men possess, and I'm no different. I'm not here to judge. And I want to talk about in today's video the 4 areas that make men weaker nowadays and why that's the case, why they've been made to be weaker in today's society, why men are being feminized. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel. I release videos every single week to help people to improve every area of their life, whether that is physical fitness, whether that is personal finances, whether that's relationships, whether that's social life. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, something that you want to improve within yourself, then click that subscribe button, click that bell button to make sure you're notified every single time I upload a new video. So let's get into it. What's the first area of life that men generally are weaker in? Well, they're weaker physically. Okay, so men are doing less physical exercise, they're less physically fit, their body fat percentage is higher, obesity rates are higher, they're less muscular, less able to lift and be strong, and due to that lack of physicality that many men don't have, testosterone is at an all-time low. Okay, and when testosterone is low within a man, it causes a lot of depression, it causes a lot of anxiety, causes a lack of confidence. And one of the main reasons why men are probably less physical than they once upon a time were is because many of the jobs that men used to do, the type of construction, laboring, these kind of jobs are less in demand. And you can make more money by working in an office nowadays. So many men that were once upon a time may have been, working on construction sites are now working in offices. They're sitting down all day on their ass. They're, getting bored. They're looking at a screen all day. And that inevitably is going to lead to bad eating habits. It's going to lead to bad posture. It's going to lead to a lot of boredom, and it's going to lead to the slowdown of metabolism, and all of that other stuff basically means that men don't feel like being physically active before or after work when they've spent 8 or 9 hours looking at a TV screen. Now, I know that isn't true for absolutely everyone, but it is true for the majority of people that are doing those types of work. So that's one of the main reasons why men are physically weaker nowadays. Now, the second thing that men are weaker in today is mentally. They're not solving the problems that they once upon a time would need to solve. If you're working on a construction site, if you're doing if you're building a house, or if you're doing plumbing, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's very practical, and these problems need to be solved very quickly, very instantly, right? They require you to use your brain to figure out what the solution is to the problem. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't any problem solving going on in people's office jobs, but the majority of the time they're going in, they have a certain set of tasks that they need to do, and they already have a great deal of experience in doing those things. And it's not that often that things are going to come up, problems are going to come up that they need to try to solve. And because of that, they're not using their brain, they're not using their mind as much as once upon a time they would be doing. Another factor within that is the fact of social media being so dominant in everyone's lives nowadays, is that we are taught, we are conditioned to be instant gratification. We are taught to, to think very short term, and think about, our the way that we are being perceived. We think about what we need in our life, what we lack, and that lack of um, lack of creative thinking, but also critical thinking, where you're actually able to critically appraise the information that you're being shown rather than just taking it as gospel. Is reduced when you're constantly bombarded with information. And because social media is so very addictive, it's very, very hard. And I testament to this, and I'm not judging anyone out there who is like this too. I spend so much of my time on social media that after a while, my mental capacity, my mental energy to critically analyze the things that I'm being shown is heavily reduced. So I just take in whatever and don't question it, right? Because questioning things takes up lots of energy, and we need to conserve that energy. So that's a few of the things that are causing men to be mentally weaker nowadays. The third area that I want to talk about is emotionally. Men are emotionally weaker nowadays. Now, one of the reasons for that is that men are encouraged to explore and share their emotions more. But the problem with this is they don't have the tools in place, they don't have the social support, the social network in place to allow them, to facilitate them to do this. All right, so what ends up happening, and they don't have the emotional intelligence either, so what ends up happening is that they just live their life on this kind of pendulum where they're on this tightrope, like they're constantly just waiting to go off one direction or the other. You'll get angry, or you'll get sad, or you'll get happy, and that takes away a lot of energy from a man, because once upon a time men were purposeful. They had their thing that they were doing, and they put all of their drive, they put all of their determination, they put all of their passion into that one thing, and that is what caused them to be emotionally stable. All right, and men need to be emotionally stable because, unfortunately, and this is predetermined a lot of the time, some men are more emotional than others, but on the whole, men are more logical, more rational than they are emotional. And that is down to our biology, that's down to our evolution as men. The kind of jobs, the kind of work that we have stereotypically done in the world has caused us to be more rational, more logical. And it goes back to the caveman days where we had to switch off our emotions. We had to be stoic in order to protect and to provide for our families. If we had been emotional all the time, then we wouldn't have got anything done. We wouldn't have been anywhere near as efficient. All right, and that's an evolutionary understanding as to why men maybe aren't as emotional on the whole as women. All right, and why men shouldn't be as emotional, because it's going against our masculine core, it's going against our masculine nature. All right, and you may sit there as a woman and think that that's sexist, but you haven't been conditioned as a male, you haven't been raised as a male. All right, and that experience is completely different to being raised as a female on the whole. And that is what creates this identity of being less capable of dealing with emotions, of reaching out for support, of being socialized around speaking about our emotions. All right, and there's a very good reason for that, and that's because we're not necessarily designed to be very emotional, to be very in touch with our emotions, because it's counterproductive for driving forward, for driving humanity forward, for creating solutions to world problems. These require logic, they require rationality, and they also require you to be emotionally stable and to be stoic. So the fourth and final thing that I wanted to talk about is spirituality. Men are less spiritual than they were, they have been before. And obviously there's been a steady decline in spirituality. I'm not saying that 2021 is any worse than, 2000 or 1990, right? But one of the main reasons for spirituality being at an all-time low is because of the rise of science, the rise of consumerism, the rise of materialism, the rise of objectivism. All right, and that is basically the idea that anything that is valuable can be seen, can be controlled, and can be measured. And a lot of people, especially in the Western world, live on this bed of beliefs whereby their happiness, their fulfillment, their enjoyment of life comes from materialism. It comes from status. It comes from having people like them. It comes from having all of these things in their life. It comes from external achievements. It all comes from an external place. And that's because we are conditioned within Western society to value external things a lot more, what we can see with our eyes, all right, or what we can evidence, what we can control, what we can measure, all right. And spirituality is all about the things that you can't see, the things that you can't measure, the things that you can't control. It's about believing in yourself even when there is no evidence that you can achieve the things that you want to achieve. It's about understanding that you are a small part of this universe, a small part. You've got a small part to play, and believing that there is something bigger than yourself. These are things that are very important when it comes to a man being on his purpose and finding solutions to big problems, because it requires him to understand that the issues that he's facing, the adversity that he's facing, is not just an individual thing. It's not just something that he's facing. It's something that every man in his position who has been trying to achieve something great, to achieve something significant, has faced within their life. All right, and that helps him to feel connected, helps him to feel spiritually connected to the mission, but also to other men who have been in the same position as him. And because a lot of men are less likely to venture into spirituality nowadays because they believe that it is fluffy, or they believe that it's a load of bullshit, or for whatever reason, it means that they are a lot less connected to their spirituality, and as a result of that, they lack the drive, they lack the meaning, they lack purpose in their life that helps them to feel grounded and helps them to feel like there is a point in them being on this planet and doing what they're doing. So those were the 4 areas I believe that are the most important when it comes to men being weaker nowadays. So just to round up, men are physically weaker, they're mentally weaker, they're emotionally weaker, and they're spiritually weaker than ever before. And that is the reason why men are struggling right now. It's the reason why male suicide is at an all-time low. So obviously there are solutions to those problems. If you're physically weaker, then you can go to the gym, you can work out more, you can exercise more, you can lift weights, you can do yoga, you can do all of that sort of stuff. Mentally, you know, you can draw back from social media, you can do more things in your life that challenge your mind. You can rely less on your negative habits, all of that sort of stuff. Emotionally, you know, you can practice being more stoic. You can practice, you know, moving through your emotions, and you can practice not exploding all the time. You can practice self-control. And spiritually, you can get to understand what it is actually all about. You can allow your mind to be open enough to explore it and see what it means, you know, see what's good about it. Because I think a lot of people have a closed mind to it, and as long as you have a closed mind to it, you're not going to get the benefits of it. So that was my video on why men are weaker nowadays. I hope you found value. If you did, press that like button, click that subscribe button to make sure you're notified every single time I upload a new video, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.